My name is Michael and welcome to a new GTK ProgressBar tutorial. As you already know, in the last video I revealed you the information about which trick I was using for creating that nice progress bar, and for this you saw that I was using a GTK overlay with progress as its child, and I put above the child progress bar the label, which you didn't saw too much information when we created, but these things, they are going to get changed. And for this, the next thing which we are going to do right now, we are going to create the set fraction callback, because this is the function which basically gets updates our progress bar once that we click the button. Anyway, I'm not going to use GObject set data or data file in this video. I'm going to use another approach, that to be sure that you understand that there are a lot of ways to get access to childs from some containers. So in this case, I'm not going to get information from the progress bar or from the label, which we basically create them in the main function by passing them as arguments to the gconnect functions or something like this. I'm going to work with GOverlay itself, and I'm going to show you something very interesting and another way of working with GTK. So for this, we need to create a function void, like I said, set function callback, and of course, because we said in the G callback swap right here that it should be swapped overlay with the button, I'm going to use only one argument, GTK overlay it will be. And now, because we declare, let us define it. And the first thing first, which I'm going to do, because we need the progress bar and we need the label from the main function to work with them. Because we have now the overlay, the first thing first which we are going to do, I'm going to say GTK widget progress bar and now the only function which uses the GTK bin. If you don't know about GTK bin, just go to my playlist and you'll see I have a playlist which is called GTK bin. It is a function which is called GTK bin get child. And we are going to GTK bin. We are going to get the overlay child, which is in this case the progress bar. The other one we added with the help of the GTK add overlay, which makes a little different. The only child which we basically provided was the progress bar itself, so don't think that there is something wrong here. The only child is the progress bar. The other one, the label one, it is a child which is above the progress bar. You need to understand the GTK overlay, so go to that. If you didn't check it, just go there to GTK overlay playlist and then come back. Okay, now because we have the progress bar, the next thing which we are going to do, we need to retrieve the children of the overlay, because now basically we are interested about the whole container, what kind of children does he use. In this case, because it could be more and more, I need the label. So for this, I'm going to say GTK label is equal to null, and now I'm going to call the GTK container get children. For this, I need the G list, of course. Children, and I'm going to say GTK container get children, and of course GTK container our overlay. Now, with the help of GTK container get children, we are iterating basically inside that overlay and see what kind of children do we find. So I'm going to say while children, then children next. And now, very important, I need the label, like I said. So I'm going to say if GTK is label the children data. So if we found it, then we are going to say label, we are going to assign the children data to our label, and then we are going to break. So this means we are iterating the children. Once that we have to do that, basically we search if the children data it is a label, then put that inside the label and break it. If not, go to the next one. I think you understand it. Now, because we have the label and the progress bar, we can move to the next thing, which we need to be 100% that we are working with the progress bar. For this, we are going to call GTK is progress bar. So only if we have it, then will be some code. Else, if we don't have it, then you better check for that and work with it. So now, because we said if GTK is progress bar, and we check and we are here, we are going to work with a function which is called GTK progress bar get set. GTK progress bar get fraction. It should be inverted right here. And this function returns the current fraction of the task that's been completed. So basically, we need information about how much from the progress bar was basically created, or best said, how much our progress bar got moved. G double fraction, we are pointed to this one, and of course we need a progress bar. Now, because we have this information, the next function which we are going to call, it will be the get ellipse. Right here it says returns the ellipsizing position of the progress bar. So in other words, which one it is, sets the mode used to ellipsize, add ellipses to it. I'm going to use this one. I think you already know what does this one. The text, if there is not enough space. So in other words, if the text is too big, too long, and will not fit, then we will put the text, just a part of it, and the last part which is missing will be replaced with those dots. I need this function, so that I'm sure that is working. And of course I'm going to say Pango, because as you can see here says Pango ellipse mode, and let's say ellipse size. Okay, and of course here the thing which we need to pass, it will be the progress bar as well. Now let me see something. Okay, so I said GTK widget, which means I need to make some changes here. GTK progress bar. I need to cast it, if not we are going to get a compiler warning. Then the thing which I forgot, we are getting the fraction, but we actually need to update it as well. So fraction plus equal to 0.05. You will understand what exactly it does. And now, because we got this ellipse size, basically we can say if ellipse size it is equal to Pango ellipse size known right here, then we are going to call, of course, the GTK progress bar set ellipse size GTK progress bar, and of course the next thing which we need a Pango ellipse size mode. Here, those modes which we have, of course there are a lot. No ellipsization, it should be at the start, at the middle, or at the end. So this means where should be those dots? It should be at the end, in the middle, or it should be at the start. This is very important for you to understand what exactly does this one. I want to give a meaning for this thing, so I'm going to just choose end for this story. Now, because we did this, we can move to the next thing, which is very, very important for us, to check the fraction. So I'm going to say if fraction is less than 1.0, then we need to work with the label now, because this was only for the progress bar. So I'm going to say if label it's not equal to null, of course I need to put them inside a. If label is not equal to null, which it better be, then GTK label set label, and I forgot something here, which I'm going to fix in a second. Label, and of course a message, let's say a buffer. Now at this point, before we call the fraction right here, I'm going to say gchar const buffer, oh no, const just buffer, and we need a function g string.printf this time right here, where we need basically to pass the %.0f, and of course 2 of those, and then the fraction times 100. Don't be scared, I'm going to explain you after this story. So now we are creating the buffer. We are saying basically put the fraction time 100 and print it and save it and create a duplicate stream about all this information and put inside of our buffer. This is the thing which we are doing right now. Okay, now because we call the GTK label with our buffer and works fine, else if something is different, else we are going to say GTK progress bar. You remember the progress bar set show text and then the text. Progress bar set show text, progress bar, and say true, because we need it set to true. And now, because we did this information, it should be here and not there, the next function will be GTK progress set text. GTK pro and of course the text which we are going to pass in here, it will be the buffer, of course. Now, because we create this information and we know exactly how it is, let us take care about the else part from if GTK is progress bar. Else if it's not, because we need to see what happens if it's not. I'm going to say if label, again we check to be sure that the label is not null, so which means we do have a label to work with. Because we don't have a label, then we cannot do nothing. Basically we are going to set the text, so I'm going to copy this part right here, and the text which we are going to use this time, which will be different, will be 100%, and of course GTK label set label on our label, which will be of course done. now, because we did also this important thing right here, the next thing which we need to call the GTK progress bar set fraction again. GTK progress bar set fraction. Progress bar set fraction. GTK progress bar, and of course we are passing just a fraction this time. Okay, now what do we need? Let's see. Let me check it again. We basically got the child of the overlay, which is the progress bar, and the next thing which we did, we declared a label widget and set it to null to be sure that it's not we are not going to work with an uninitialized pointer. And then we get the children of the overlay. We are iterating through it. If we find one which is GTK label, then we set that one to the label, and now we have a label. The next thing we said, if GTK is progress bar, so basically we are checking if we have indeed a progress bar and the progress bar indeed it is a progress bar. Then we are getting the actual fraction which it's set. We don't know which one is, but no matter which one is, we are updating it with 0.05. Once that we update this fraction, this one is just here just to make some to give different meaning for this. I'm going to show you exactly why I call this one, because this one is not really important, but if you have a long text then it is important. Anyway, gchub buffer, we have said put the fraction which we have it at this point times 100, print it, and then duplicate the string by save it into a pointer buffer. And now we have it, which means I forgot to free it. Once that we are done with it, we need to free this one. What the heck? Nope, not there. Not there, because I decide to create the buffer inside of this if statement is progress bar, so which means we need to free it also there where we declare it. If not, we have a problem. So I'm going to free it right here. So if, then we work with it, which means right here. Okay, so again, sorry guys, again we have the buffer, and then we check the fraction before. We say if the fraction is less than 1.0, this is the thing which we are interested. Then we check if the label is equal to null, then it should not work. If it's not, then we are setting basically the buffer, which we have it right here, and print it with the help of our label. So basically we are setting the label with the new information. If it's not, then we are just if it's not the case, we are just showing the text and we are putting the buffer on the progress bar itself. And then we free it because we are done with it. Else, if we have no progress bar, basically we say if label again is not equal to true to null, we are setting to 100% the text and the label to done. And then of course we set the fraction with the fraction. Let's see how many errors do we have. I forgot to compile it and run it, which looks like fraction, which means I called it, oh yes, my mistake, because not indenting the code, it looks like that I call in the wrong place, because we declare it in this if statement, You know what, I'm going to change this one, fraction, and I'm going to call it right here. And now I think we're free to set that fraction. It may be used uninitialized y. Let me see where exactly I forgot to set that information. I said, okay, I understand where, so let me set it to 0, this point. Now let's see, if I click the button, it doesn't get updated, which means we have a problem. That was the reason why we got that one. So let's see where the problem is. Basically we are getting the progress bar, we are getting the children from the overlay itself. Once that we have the children, we are searching if we get a label. If we get a label, then we put the children data inside it, and then we break it. Then next thing we move to the is GTK progress bar. We check the progress bar is there, and because the progress bar is there, we say that the fraction should be get from the G progress bar get fraction, and then we are updating it, and then we take care about the ellipse size, which is not the case for us right now. And the next thing after that, we are creating a pointer, a buffer, where we put all that information inside it, fraction times 100, which is fine. And then we check if fraction is less than 1.0, we are checking the label against null, and if that label is not null, we are setting basically the buffer, else we say the GTK progress bar set short text on the program is true, which is okay. And then we are setting the text, which means we are setting the buffer, which we are fine as well. And yes, I know, because I forgot to update the fraction GTK progress bar set fraction, which is very important. Progress bar and the fraction. And now let's move on to see if everything is fine. I was freeing the buffer, and then I was checking again the label if everything is fine. GTK progress bar set label set text to 100%, and then the label to done. And because everything looks fine, basically we are safe to work with it with no problem, which means if I compile it now and run it, hopefully it should work. Yes, there was the problem, because I forgot to update. And of course we have another problem now, because it stops to 95% and it doesn't print the null as it should be. Now let me see why again. If and else part. So here I did something wrong. If we have the progress bar, this is very important. I think I know where I did the problem. Somehow it jumped. Yes, let me remove this call here, and let me see something. I said if the progress bar we have it, then if the fraction it's called 0, it's less than 1.0, then we have this if else statement. Else, if we go here, then if the label, and we drop right here, which means at this point should work fine. Done. Yes, it works fine. So basically, I don't know why and what was the reason why I jumped the else part from the if fraction less than 1.0, which was here, somehow jumped here, so we had the else statement right here. Now, because everything looks fine, now we can free our buffer, so which means that now if we remove this one right here, because it should not be needed, it should work fine as well inside, because we need it only if we have a progress bar, which means, as you can see, it works fine. Okay, so that being said, this is the whole information which you need to know at this point. The next thing which we are going to do in the next video, we are going to give some styling on it, and then you will definitely see how exactly works. That being said, thank you guys for watching. If you like it, please subscribe, share with your friends and neighbors, and until next time, see you guys.